So you want to know how you're going to get your tier gear? Easy mode, baby, that's how, because the Catalyst system
we have received a service for you.
It is being carried over into Dragonflight, although with a couple of changes coming along with it.
Tweaks and nerfs and buffs.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of the initial thought on the Catalyst thing. So okay, let's first explain what that is. So the Catalyst system was first introduced into Shadowlands like back in 9.2, and it's basically a place where you take any piece of loot and you can transform it into becoming a tier piece. Now, that can be from any item level or whatever, it will activate the bonus, okay? So you can take like LFR loot, you can take dungeon loot, I don't know, there was, I think in Zero More, is the, what's it called, the Sandworm Relic gear as well.
They made that eventually work as well.
So there was a bunch of ways to get your tier set without having necessarily to putting like all of your time in the game on the raid specifically. Now, that being said...
with a little caveat, actually.
Yeah.
So the way it was introduced initially in 9.2 is that you will essentially have to pay 2,000 cosmic flux, which was a currency that you had to grind for doing various activities within the Zerth Mortis content and the 9.2 content overall. Now that restriction has been removed, but there are kind of like other tweaks and stuff. For now, to actually get what the equivalent of the currency is, you have to do a weekly quest, to which is progression can be contributed with all of your alts, which is actually kind of cool. We're starting to skew more and more into the account-wide type mentality, which is good because alts should be the way that the game is played right now, at least for the people who are interested, because it just feels better.
They kind of stated they want Dragonflight to be a lot more alt-friendly. They said that in Shadowlands, but we know how that turned out. But by the looks of it, everything is kind of like how they say it is going to be. So now the difference is that, okay, same thing, this system will be able to be used after 6 weeks from the initial raid release, from the release of Season 1. So you cannot use this once the season starts, okay? You're going to have to wait 6 weeks until you get, I think, your first charge.
Yeah.
And then you're going to carry over. Yes, the big difference is now it is account-wide. So you're going to remove the fact that you would have to grind that currency back in 9.2, the flux, all the time on all your characters, right? And have them individually get items. This time around, you're going to have charges that are restricted. I think the biggest eyebrow feature for it is that the charges are fixed. And, you know, it's maybe... So the thing is...
Well, so far, what's that in mind right now is that we're reaching like max 6 charges.
Yeah, 6 charges, yes.
So once, let's say, we're the 12th week into the patch and we got the 6 charges, and let's say you haven't placed some of your alts, if you keep grinding, you won't get the 7th and so on. So you kind of probably have to start consuming them, which is a little bit... But at the end of the day, with the 6 charges, you can definitely get all of your tier pieces, provided you have the base items to craft it into. Now, the only other particular issue is, which is, I mean, I guess it's the issue that we currently have right now, but had in 9.2 as well, is that if you don't work towards completing the weekly event quest to unlock one of those charges, you don't get that charge so far from the research that we've done. So if you don't play the game, if you take a break, you won't have those charges ready for you accumulated. And so far that we know right now, there's not a catch-up in place now. So for instance, let's say you take a break for a month, you've missed on 4 charges, you come back, you cannot get all 4 charges at once, you'll still get 1, and then next week the second one and so on. So I hope that, and it's kind of makes a little bit sense that it's gonna happen a little bit later, that we're gonna be able to, you know, like a month or 2 into the patch. If I take a break for a month, I can come back and get like 4 weeklies done in 1 week maybe and get 4 charges on my account.
Yes! To be like super blunt, the system as it looks right now and as it is data mined right now, it does repay players who will be active during like the first couple of months of Season 1.
Yeah.
So all of the charges you'll probably use them on higher item level pieces. This is another thing with the old system. You really wanted to get to that tier bonus as fast as possible, and you would transform pieces that were not necessarily high item level, right? You want that bonus first, and then moving forward, you get higher item level, then you could charge those. Now with these static charges, you have to think about, you know, not going all out on making tier sets from whatever drops, right? You're gonna have to like either get something really juicy from the vault, or you get a really cool drop that isn't necessarily a tier piece but it's high item level and you can transform it like that, as opposed to how it was in 9.2, where everybody was just making tier sets just to get the bonuses. So it's a good thing for people who will play actively during the holidays. However, we know a lot of folks will not necessarily play as much, right? They want to spend time with the families, they want to like go out on vacation or whatever. So that feels like a little bit of a penalty, because you will not have a automated in the back system that will cover for the fact that you haven't played 1 week, 2, 3 weeks, whatever, to get those charges. As Flame mentioned, it's pretty likely that at some point, probably after the Race to World first ends, somewhere along those lines, at some point there's going to be an automated catch-up mechanics. Okay, you missed out on 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks will automatically give you 1 charge without you completing the quest event or whatever. Something along those lines. But traditionally, they never placed any catch-up like this right from the get-go. Why? I mean, it does make a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
You want the players to be engaged and do as much content as possible. And as time flows, because remember, this will unlock 6 weeks after the season starts. So if after 6 weeks you are that unlucky, and trust me, I know, I never get good drops. But if you're like me, super unlucky with drops, and you don't get any piece of tier gear, at the desired item level, then you're gonna have the possibility to get like, it's not natural, or it doesn't feel good to have all your tier pieces from the catalyst, but it's a good way to like cover for your unlucky ass. I know I love that shit a million, because I never get fucking tier drops.
It's ridiculous, but the thing is that, so obviously, you still have 2 sources of getting your tier set. You can get it from the raid and you can get it from the catalyst as well.
Support, yeah.
And obviously there's a little bit of friction. We know that Ian mentioned, I don't know in which interview, might have been in the Asmongold interview, where they mentioned that they want for the game to have a little bit of friction, and I kind of agree, as long as that friction is not there for just to be friction for the friction's sake. So I understand. And on another note, playing all of these alts that we've done in 9.2 and having to gear them with the tier set, if you don't play regularly and you want to min-max, you will hardly ever use more than, I don't know, 6, 7 charges anyway to get your tier set. Because if you are going to be playing alts, I like how many people are going to gear their alt to max eye level and then switch to another alt and do this for all 12 classes. It's a little bit unlikely, but even so, if you do play that much to min-max, you will likely get all the charges anyway. So it's not, on the face of it, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a negative thing. And because obviously if you play a lot, then that doesn't even matter for you whatsoever. And if you don't play a lot, then you don't really need that many charges to min-max anyway. It comes down to like most of the systems that they introduced that are new, although this is kind of semi-new. We kind of need to be in the patch and play with it to kind of get a feel of it, because we thought different things in the past were okay until we actually got our hands on it, and vice versa. Some things seemed a little bit too bad, and once we got our hands on it, it's like, it's not that bad actually when you actually put it into context.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument that 6 weeks maybe is a bit too much for some folks. I can understand that. I can get behind that. I would feel like 4 weeks would be enough. But I do understand the other side of the argument as well. It's not like, okay, we decided to put 6 weeks to have people use this just because we want to. Now, there's an argument there, for a lot of people that want to play, because usually we're not talking here top 100 guilds, or, we're not talking the 1% here. We're talking like folks like you and me, and sometimes Flame, where you are part of progression. You want to probably do either your mythic guild progressing, and on average, on a month you would get some progress, but not like super huge, right? You're not like super competing to get as fast as possible. Some guilds are, but the majority are not. And talking about a bigger majority, that's like the heroic guilds. That's, I think that the normal and heroic guilds are like the biggest, and for them,
the meat.
This time frame is like perfect. I think one thing that should be made clear on this, although there's no confirmation, but it would be ridiculous if this isn't the case. So you get like, let's say 2 weeks have passed since the Inspiration Catalyst has launched. You crafted 2 tier sets, 2 tier set pieces.
Yeah.
Then you do, so your 2 charges are consumed. You cannot do any more, even if you have like other characters, right? Now, 3rd weeks comes along, you do another. And once you get to the cap of 6, once you use them, you can once again do the event and get the charges, right? So it is a max of capping at 6, but this doesn't mean that you are restricted to do 6 and that's it.
No, you can still earn after.
You can still earn. That's what I'm saying. So because I saw a lot of like comments on the forums and on the Wowhead article and stuff, and like people complaining that, oh my god, only 6 charges. No, it's capped at 6. Once you use those 6, you can still get charges like to infinity. You cannot get 7, for example, but if you use those 6 in a span of a couple of weeks, then you do the event, quest again, you can have charges once more.
And one important thing that I think, kind of like a side note, but not really a side note, that it's actually really positive, is the fact that this is account-wide. Because we've been asking for account-wide stuff, like account-wide reputations and things like that for a while, and they're moving more and more into this direction, which is like a wonderful thing to see, considering that, you know, there's obviously that one player that just plays that one character and that's it and forever.
Sure.
And usually there's not much you can do to keep that player into the game if they play up to a point and say, okay, that's it for me, I don't want to play anymore. Or, you know, they can just grind and push with that character, mythic rating plus 30 keys and so on and so forth. But if people are not interested in alts, then they're not interested in alts. And like begrudgingly trying to keep them into the game hasn't been historically successful within the whatever system they devised for the game. You know, like soft gating, like spreading that Torghast grind over like so many weeks.
We all know about that.
But now, since obviously there's been more vocal opinion expressed about playing alts and seeing more and more alt-friendly and account-wide stuff being introduced, kind of feels really hopeful for the future, feels like, and especially with the new class that is like, now we just have a lot of classes and a lot of specs, 38 specs. Some people might be interested, like, oh, I want to see what this is about, because I'm not just playing 1 out of 38, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a good direction for the overall game design to go to.
They understood that. It's the same argument they kind of have for the dragon riding stuff, that is going to be account-wide. The reputation stuff, that's going to be account-wide. Not all the reputation. There's just things that from the reputations that will be. So definitely the direction is really good. The thing is, like, just to like conclude here, it's really easy to get tier gear. I would say it's easier to get tier gear if you play multiple characters. It's way easier because 1, it's account-wide, the charges will be account-wide, and 2, you don't have any currency to farm anymore. So you just have to do that weekly thing, and there you go. Unlucky bastard, like Marcelian here, no problem. You have the catalyst over there, and you can use that system to make a tier piece. The only caveat is you won't be able to like get super fast to that bonus, right? You're gonna have to be a little bit mindful of what you're gonna upgrade. And mindful, I'm not talking about super analytic stuff. Just, you know, make sure you transform the highest item level piece you can transform, rather than just getting whatever like low item level piece and getting fast to the bonus.
But that's pretty much what we've been doing in 9.2 anyway, because there wasn't like an infinite amount of cosmic flux that you could use to upgrade like an infinite.
I mean, I know, I made 2 pieces from the Sandworm relics. That was like 246. But I just wanted to get that.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Even in 9.2, you kind of still had to like, okay, am I gonna put it into the chest or am I gonna put it into the shoulders? And I think that's fine especially for an RPG perspective, because there is supposed to be like a progressive grind towards, you know, getting that power. And I think that's part of it. And considering that tier sets have been historically very hard to come by in past expansions, like, you know, prior to BFA when they were still a thing. Yeah, now it's not even close. You can essentially do Mythic Plus. You can, I don't know if it's gonna work with like. PvP.
Like we had in Shadowlands, so all the vault items from the activities you do will work. We don't know yet if world drops or, you know, world quest drops will work. That we don't have all the details for those, but I'm pretty sure there will be some form of gear obtained from the world or reputations or whatever that you could use for the inspiration catalyst. But this is it. I think it's a strong positive. You know, the positive outweigh the negatives. Again, negative being like with this fixed charges thing, but it's not the end of the world. That being said, we're curious to know what you guys think. Do you find this more easier? Because we find it much easier. Well, granted, we play a lot of characters and alts and stuff, but it's really important for you guys to voice it out, especially because we don't know yet anything about some sort of like back-end automated catch-up system further down the line. That's very important to be addressed. So let us know in the comments
down below
you think, and you know, we can start an argument over there and yell at each other, because that's how we do in the comments.
It's how the world works today. And thank you, patrons, for supporting the content and being a part of the community and helping us make these videos and bring them to you at your doorstep. right over there. And
On your
dear
TV.
viewer, if you like
phone.
the content that we do, and you know you wanna be a part of it, wanna support a little bit more, we
Check it.
would super appreciate it. And you can check it with the link down below in the
Check it.
description. Patreon page, that is.
Check it out. What's it all about?
Good job.
That's a cool song. Hope we don't get copyrighted. Thank you for watching. We shall catch you soon in a brand new video. Hopefully tomorrow. If not, we're gonna have TLFs for mains and alts. Be ready for that on Friday. One very special TLF is coming. Mains and alts, boys and girls.
Finally.
Bye.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.